Om Agneermurda Chakshushi Chandrasuryo Vishahar Shrotrivak Vivitasha Vedaha Vayu Prana Hridaya Vishvamasha Padbayam Prithivihi Sarvutantaratmam. Om Shantihi Shantihi Shantihi. Verily, that one indivisible consciousness is the indwelling spirit in all things. Fire is its head, the sun and moon its two eyes. The revelation of Scripture is its non-dual mind. The universe is its heart. Its arms are the four directions. Music is its voice, and from its feet the earth has originated. Om, peace, peace, peace. And there shines Brahman. May that Brahman protect us, sustain us, and illumine our thinking process, free us from impediments, obstacles, and reveal to us the essence of the teachings. Om, peace, peace, peace. May peace be unto us, and may peace be unto all. Om, Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om Tat Sat. We are gathered here the weekend after our seminar on the Divine Mother Kali, the negativity destroying child. So maybe it's a good time to regroup and talk about some of those things that she destroys in the mind that makes way for higher realization, for the light to come, for truth to dawn, for higher wisdom, and for peace to come into the heart and mind. All those things, I hope we're not forgetting those nowadays, as those are the solutions for our problems. That is, maintaining them, keeping them, rather than letting them go. You maintain them by your spiritual practice and your awareness of God, your devotion to God, and your study of the Scriptures and keeping holy company. All those things are key to keeping that mind in a peaceful state. Our Holy Mother said, you need peace of mind first and foremost. If you were to put that in another way, from the opposite direction, is that you'll lose all these things if you don't keep peace of mind. And I think that's rather obvious in the world today, not only just with people in general who are suffering worldliness and materialism and so forth, or conventional religion, or vicious, violent military, or unsound political arena. All those things being suffered, but even the devotees suffer here in the world because of losing that peace of mind. They're the examples to others if they go about with equanimity of mind. So very important for that reason too, not only for our own good, but of course for the highest good of all, to keep that equanimity of mind. That sattva, or sattva shuddha, if you can manage it, that's a higher peace of mind. And so some of those things Mother Kali destroys when we welcome her into our spiritual practice consciously happen at the individual level. And that's what we were looking at last week in our seminar, 3-day seminar. So we weren't here with you last Sunday, but this next 2 Sundays we'll have this class topic. Basically has to do with the cosmic Maya, how to see through the cosmic Maya. And so the expression is rather strange, maybe for a lot of people. Cosmos just means outer space. But to the rishis of India, it's all cosmological or cosmic has always been inner space. It just shows how deeply they've plumbed inner space, and they know that that inner space is the mind. And then deeper beyond all space, the highest ether, you might want to call it, as Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa called it, is that Chidakasha or Mahakasha. Those are words for something that's beyond name and form and time and space. and also the cause and effect that happens in all of those. That's the fivefold definition of Maya that Swami Vivekananda gave us, to rescue the word from misrepresentation and misinterpretation by people who maybe had suffered it but didn't know how to get over it like he did. So that Maya, the queen of all four-letter words, if you get my meaning, is what we always call that. All other four-letter words came out of that, of a negative kind, of course. And so it flummoxes us. So it's rather interesting to find out then that it happens on three different levels. So in the seminar we were looking at a lot about the first two levels, and we're going to try and broach the subject of the higher level of Maya. You might even call it Mahamaya, although that's reserved for the Divine Mother herself, who controls it, operates it, and frees people from it, frees freedom-seeking souls from it when they want that peace of mind that we're talking about, or when they want desperately to see truth. They want to transcend the intellectual frame of reference, which the West has not done yet, even with its scholars and its scientists. Still in that intellectual frame of reference in which the ego flavors all the time. Oh, I'm doing this for a paycheck, or I'm doing this to get famous, or I'm doing this to be the first to have done it, and various moves of the ego like that. The seers never think of those things. They just want everyone free. How free? As free as the air you breathe, as Swami Vivekananda quoted. So, in that way then, the name of this two-class series, I don't want it to flummox you. Basically, we're talking about Maya at three levels. And so let me give you a little preamble to this. The individual level basically is nature. I wouldn't call confusion and all of that necessarily the individual Maya, because that individual gets confused by internal Maya, the mind's Maya, or the mindset of his ancestors or of the society and so forth. So I'm reserving that for the collective Maya. But for the individual Maya, I'm calling it nature, because as we were talking about this morning, when we were broaching the subject for class this afternoon, we were looking at how people are so attracted to nature. And obviously so. I mean, all good things are in nature. They just are wearing a pleasant face for a while. And then those very things that are gold chains become iron chains, as Vivekananda used to say. Or he said something once, he said, a good world, that's a contradiction in terms. Even the word world is a contradiction in terms, because there's nothing but Brahman. And in Brahman there are no worlds, they're just pure conscious awareness. That's why I chanted from the Upanishads today, the Mundaka Upanishad, Agnir Murta Chakshashusha, that Chandra Shushao, that's basically the fire is his head and the sun and moon are his two eyes. That begins to point toward a cosmic kind of Maya, doesn't it? But the Lord is there. Brahman is there in those, shining through them. So wandering off too far away from my preamble here, is that the individual Maya is pretty much his nature. People get things out of nature, resources, pleasures, objects, and as Sri Ramakrishna said, they come to the garden, but no one wants to see the gardener. They're just taken aback by the beautiful things in nature. Of course, one of the things that doesn't suggest itself to people's intelligence very often is that it took them 8, 10, 12 years to begin to appreciate nature, because they hardly knew anything as they were growing up. And when you're a little boy or a little girl, you appreciate nature through playtime. Recess at school and various things, or going on a vacation with your parents and so forth. Then in that way you kind of get into nature, but you're not really aware of earth, put it in order, earth, water, fire, air, and ether. You're not really aware of those as 5 different things. When you see a lake, you think water, and you're in water. When you see a campfire, you think fire, and you're in that. So integrating these 5 elements is all of nature, and all of nature has all of these 5 mixed into them in different amounts in each different object, including the human body. And we know that the earth consists mostly of water. At least we hope it continues to do so in these times that are coming. So that individual Maya really is how you get attracted to nature, and it's why a lot of the teachings are are telling you to please draw back from it for a while. Witness it. Don't get so involved in it as if it were the only reality. Brahman Satya, Jagad Mithya is how Vedanta puts that in 4 words. Brahman is real, the worlds aren't. So real here means unchanging. So the world being always changing, then that's one of the stiff lessons which you get from the Vedanta and from yoga and even Tantra. And so that they want you to draw back from nature and the 5 elements and be less of more of a witness of it. What's the subtitle for this 2 classes today is called The Non-Participatory Participant. I said that to someone recently, said, oh, that makes you think about things. So I have to kind of flesh that one out and seek it out. So how to be a participant in everything so that you're not just a mountain person up in the cave or a yogi disappeared from society, but you're there for everyone, as the householder devotees are, but you're strangely also transcendent of all the things that are happening to others. You're not suffering like they are. You're not ignorant of the scriptures like they are because you study them with a guru. You're not plunged only into restless activity because you meditate. And you're not there just for yourself because you serve others. All of these are like the 4 yogas kinds of teachings. So that's why they want you to use the individual Maya, nature, and draw back from it for a while. And one of the best ways we've heard to put that is you're not born in nature. Nature is born out of you. So that leads us to the next level of Maya. Where is nature born from? Out of the mind, out of the great mind. And this great mind at first is called the collective. So here we have individual Maya. Now we have a collective Maya. And we're heading toward that cosmic Maya, which we want to talk about today. So just like there's not a lot of difference between waking and dream state, there's again not a lot of difference between individual and collective Maya. The collective Maya is the individual Maya is 7 billion people strong, let's say, their attraction to nature. The collective Maya is billions and billions of souls strong. That is your ancestors that have come and gone, the demigods, the gods, the angels or celestials, if you call them that. Those are a lot of souls, and they're all in the kingdoms within you, and there's only one within we can think of where they would be. That's in the mind's thinking process, in the mind's power to envision, in the mind's power to imagine, or the mind's power to project, sustain, and withdraw everything, like you do every day in waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. Project it in waking, you withdraw it in dreaming, and then you dissolve it completely in deep sleep, and then you come back through that out. Inner and outer, like a breath, it goes. In breath, Puraka, held breath, Kumbhaka, out breath, Rechaka, right? Well, that's just a Hatha Yoga teaching that it's good to know, but how about that it also should be dovetailed with waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, and with the AU and M of Om, the 3 worlds and so forth. There are a lot of teachings that happen that you want to get a hold of so you understand more deeply Triputis. So maybe I should have prefaced all this by saying India has been very good at warning you against the dvandva, mohena. Moha is delusion, dvandva is 2. So things that come in pairs tend to delude the mind, and that's a part of the individual and collective Maya together. There's dualities coming out of the mind all the time. For instance, pleasure and pain. Or how about even more stultifying, virtue and vice, or good and bad. Those are very base dualities, and so India proposes that we rise back from those because they're always taking us from feeling pleasurable to suffering, like we're suffering, or to being balanced and then being restless, or sometimes restless and then sleepy. All of these things are why you want to not attach to dvandva, mohena, the deluding pairs of opposites, Krishna calls them in the Gita. So then India proposes as a solution Triputi. So beyond deluding pairs of opposites, there's these triple teachings that come in. This is one of them. So that's why maybe I should have started saying that, because we're looking at a Triputi here of individual Maya, collective Maya, and cosmic Maya. Remember, Maya is not Brahman. It's in Brahman like poison is in a snake, Sri Ramakrishna said. So there can't be anything separate from Brahman, but yet it's not Brahman's essence, or it's, of course, the world of nature is also not Brahman's essence. You don't find consciousness here without boundaries or without borders. You only find it in people with minds that have boundaries between each other, in countries that have borders between each other, and in ways of thinking that are distinctly different from one another. All of this is those divisions. You don't find those in Brahman, the seers say. You just find this one great, undivided, peaceful, blissful mass of pure conscious awareness. And you're like a fish that's just been let out of a goldfish bowl into it for the first time in its life, as Sri Ramakrishna described it. So that individual and collective Maya, when you get to the collective level of Maya, then you've got your ancestors involved. And that's why beings as great as Lord Buddha were holding the ancestors up as being a very suspect thing. People, in order to not forget their ancestors, they get into worship of their ancestors. We know certain religions are given pretty much just to that. They don't have meditation or study of scriptures in them. They have just worship my ancestors in them. And those religions, of course, are focused on that one thin veneer of Maya. And they're never going to get over the Maya or get beyond it, as we're going to be talking about today, when we get to the cosmic Maya. So the collective mind has all those billions of souls in it that are reincarnating all the time and into individuals, and then going back to the collective. And that's what you're doing when you're coming from waking to dreaming. Kingdom of heaven is really in the mind. All the kingdoms of heaven are in the mind. So you dream, you go to heaven every night, so don't be so anxious to get to heaven. You're already there. And by the way, hell's already also in the mind, so you go there sometimes in a nightmare. So it's all mind, mind-only schools. And the one word in English you want to, if you put it in Sanskrit, it would be srishti. So that means, srishti means creation, roughly speaking. So the one word you want to remember about the mind is that it projects things all the time. It's dual by nature, dvandva mohena, happiness, sorrow, virtue, vice. So it's going to project those things into space. And if it has space and it has time, which Maya does, right? It has name, form, time, space, and causation. So those five things are a perfect method, a perfect way of projecting worlds outwardly, and people then get attracted to them. What's that sound like again? The individual Maya, right? They come into the projected worlds of nature and they get taken aback by them. And they get hypnotized by them, and nobody thinks of the gardener anymore. Really, kind of the gardener's their own mind. As if you look specifically at Brahman, beyond the cosmic Maya, you'll find that it's not, it can't be the cause of anything. It's a causeless cause. So you go beyond all worlds, so there's no idea of srishti, creation, sthiti, preservation, and laya, dissolution. Srishti, sthiti, laya is how they put that. The mind is always engaging in those things, like waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. So that's a little bit about the collective mind. We have to look toward our ancestors, towards celestial beings, demigods, gods, and so forth, devas and devis, we call them, and even, in the patalas, there are demonic beings. You look into Tibetan Buddhists and you find out where those are located. And we'll show a few charts to clear this up more and define it more. I'm giving you the preamble. So the third part of this preamble is cosmic mind, which is the name of this seminar. How are we going to go beyond cosmic mind? So that Maya, I should be saying, cosmic Maya. So how are we going to get beyond the cosmic Maya? That's like the great mind, the Mahat. So we had the individual mind, right? And then we had the collective mind of everyone. Now we have this great being called Lord Brahma, if you want to give him that name in our tradition, who's the cosmic mind. He's called the Mahat. And he's got with him the powers of Vishnu and Shiva. So Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva is that trinity. And they're pretty much straight across the board with the cosmic mind, although they can also transcend it and become like, that's where avatars come from, for instance, out of these great Ishvara form. So basically, when you look at the cosmic mind, then you see that that's where the whole shooting match got started. That's where the whole snowball started rolling down the hill and gathering more and more speed and more volume, until pretty soon it took in the collective mind of the heavenly realms. Then it took in all the Burloka with all the people in it, and it turned into this huge snowball of concentrated thought here at the waking state, or with the individual minds that we all are or have. So that's individual, collective, and cosmic minds going on. So we hope to be able to understand this and then get some clarity around it. So I have a chart here that I've actually named that crystal clarity and cosmic subterfuge. So if you might fall a victim to subterfuge, that means some kind of in my mind. It's not allowing me to see all this. What I'm speaking here is the wisdom of the ages. It comes from the seers. It comes from the revealed scriptures that have come from the seers' meditations. So, and those come from their meditations on who? Ishvara, that great soul. As Patanjali said, the greatest and most unique of all souls in this realm of name and form is Ishvara. So all of that's a stacking kind of tendency. You feel from outward, and then just like individual to collective to cosmic, now you're with a practice and with a method, you're going from outside in the let's call it the gross mind, and then you're going into the subtle mind, and then you're going into the causal mind. That's how you assign waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, and these three kinds of individual, collective, and cosmic mind. You would assign them that way. And so when you're coming up to that, then the seers look at that and say, what a marvelous projection this has all been out of the cosmic mind. Where does the cosmic mind get it from? It's like, sort of like you saying, what a marvelous dream I had, or I dreamed all my life. I had many dreams. Where did they all come from? I'm curious. So they all came from seeds in your deep sleep, is what the seers will answer very, very clearly. Talk about crystal clarity. Oh, they were in me all the time. Those dreams came out of me. They just random, floating around somewhere. And they were probably colored and flavored by my actions in the waking state, no doubt. But both waking and dreaming have come from seeds in deep sleep. So then the next question is, what's beyond deep sleep? Or in this regard, what's beyond Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva? Where do they get all of their power to do this? Right away, our last seminar last weekend comes forth with the Devi, the goddess, the supreme goddess, and how her powers shoot through everything here. There's nothing in the three worlds meaning these three minds, that doesn't come from her, that she doesn't infuse things with. Her Shakti power, it's called. So they look around and they say, Te Jnana Yoga Nugata Pasyan Devatma Shaktim Svagunayar Nagudam. Oh, Devatma Shaktim, we meditated practicing the Jnana Yoga method, and we saw her. All the covering power went away, and she revealed herself to us, and we saw the divine Shakti in everything, even in inanimate objects. So this is Shakti power, and it introduces you to something that's beyond energy, prana. It's also, and of course then prana is beyond electrical and kinetic energy, nervous energy, and then that's beyond physical energy. So the prana has these three kinds of levels too, these triputis. So when we look about something as dense, potentially confusing as cosmic Maya, then we would probably want to look at how the seers have maintained crystal clarity. Let's look at that now that we've kind of defined where in the Atmagyan, where in these great teachings of India we are actually focusing on this two Sundays. So also said here at the first quote, you can see the subtitle there is Penetrating Phenomena and Their Mystic Appearances. So that's little bit Buddhist flavored there because Lord Buddha was born in India, and Buddhism and Hinduism, might as well almost be the same religion or parts of the same religion. So in that way, you have this idea of phenomena. They looked in English when the Buddhists came here and said, "Where's a word for that?" Happenings, occurrences, events. No, none of that's mystical enough. Phenomena. Yeah, it's like a scientific word they pulled out of everything. It's a phenomenon. It means, like, wow, look at that. I'm totally impressed by it, and I'm struck by it. I can't understand it. It immediately confuses me, and although I'm attracted to it. So how do we penetrate that attraction to things that are not ultimately real because they're changing and they have an effect upon us and make us change? How do we penetrate that and get crystal clarity? By penetrating through the mystical appearances of things. Last year we read a Upanishad, remember? Diamond Needle Upanishad, anyone remember? How that can become so sharp that it can penetrate through everything. Like a diamond needle can pierce through everything. Nothing can break it or dull it. So basically, that's what's being meant by the subtitle. Now this quote here is like this: when form is incepted in space by the cosmic mind, at the outset of a vast cycle of time, the original transcendental vision of ultimate reality gets compromised. That is, whenever form appears, formless disappears. Anyone want to argue that? And that's called covering powder. So the essence of everything, according to this first sentence, is formlessness. Brahman is formless, perfect, actionless and divine, the Upanishads say. So anytime a form gets incepted, by what? By the mind, right? The mind is doing that. Anytime the mind incepts a form, Brahman hides. Just like that. You don't see your formless nature anymore. Now do you blame yourself for getting flummoxed by the appearance of nature? How many forms are there that are surprising you and shocking you? And you don't even know about it till you get 6 or 8 or 10 years old. And then hopefully your parents will teach you about it, but not in the West, they won't. Shankara woke up to it at 8 years of age in India. His parents were dharmic, and they were grounded in these scriptures. So this is what we're saying as we go along here. This is what it's put simply. And further, behind the multifaceted weave of layers of powerful and convincing mental projection, the formless reality retreats, showing itself only on those rare occasions when a unique mind possessing crystal clarity penetrates this amazing veil of cosmic subterfuge. Nobody would have suspected that behind nature there was something full of light. What? Something that didn't, have decay in it, like nature does. Didn't have pain in it, like nature does. Didn't have birth and death in it, like nature does. Didn't have the potential for karma and suffering in it, like nature does. Do I need to make it any clearer? See, nobody would have looked at that and said, just because I see birth, death, growth, old age, decay, and death going on, which both the Buddhists and the Vedantas call the 6 transformations. Just because I'm looking at nature and see those, it still doesn't prompt me to look beyond it. So I can never get free of them. So a seer is a person who saw those 6 transformations and said, that doesn't look like Brahman to me. But the seer's described as pure, formless, actionless, and divine, free of karma, birthless, deathless. So where is Brahman then? Must be hiding behind all those forms. And so they start to get a method for formless meditation. And they try and see beyond it. Penetrating cosmic subterfuge, right? It's my whole way that I want to present this. It's not my own ideas, it's what I saw the seers of India doing for thousands of years, for ages. And what am I going to end up with? Am I going to end up with Brahman as my own possession? Well, it's already theirs, as you say. But you'll become to realize that it's yours, and you'll get, first, before that, you'll get crystal clarity. Let's look at what crystal clarity looks like. Just listen to my words. You don't have to read this because it's small print, but this is what a vision of crystal clarity has been described as by different people. First, our own Holy Mother. Sri Sharda Devi, whom we were studying last weekend in the seminar about. She said, who but God can say what is going on in the remote planes of existence? Remember, remote planes, where are they? Out there? No. They're inside of you. All the kings of heaven are inside of you. So don't start thinking out of space here if you're raised in the West. It is only God and his incarnations who can be omniscient in the realm of Maya. Just know that all conditions can turn favorable by the will of the Master. So we have Gota Sri Ramakrishna and the great avatars, and they can clear this up for it. He used to say that avidya maya is more powerful than vidya. That is, ignorance is more powerful than knowledge. That hurts. But hear that. That is why avidya maya has kept the world enchanted. So if knowledge were more powerful than ignorance, we'd all be dancing around in ecstasy saying, look at Brahman, I can see it. My ignorance is gone, utterly gone. Who can veil the truth? There it is right before me. But are we doing that? Not very many souls are doing that. So this is how Holy Mother described that cosmic subterfuge going on. And that there are certain beings that can see through it. They have omniscience in Maya. How about going to Tibetan Buddhism? Tilopa, one of the great four teachers, he says, as space is always freshly appearing and never completely filled, just so pure mind is without limits and ever aware. If you gaze with sheer awareness into sheer awareness, all habitual abstract structures will melt away entirely and begin to flow unceasingly, appearing as the fruitful springtime of mature Buddhahood. Isn't that beautiful? So you get the flavor now from the Divine Mother Sri Sharda, then you get this one of these wonderful religions that have grown out of Mother India and Tibet, and Tilopa explaining it like that. And using that analogy that just like space is wide open and vast and you can't find the end of it, so is the mind. That's because all of outer space has come out of inner space, right? You incepted all that out there with your individual, collective, and cosmic mind. That was all incepted in the mind before name, form, time, space, and causality came out into the picture, like before you were born. Think about what happened before I was born. How about going to the Advaitist now, Shankara? He says, and these are solutions. I'm giving you the goal ahead of time before we look at the subterfuge, which is keeping us from having it, because Sri Ramakrishna say you should give them the non-dual truth first, and then they should think about that for a while. As they do, you should present to them all of these problems in Maya, karma, suffering, decay, and so forth, so that they understand the combination of getting the non-dual truth first and finding out why they've been suffering all this while is going to be the winning combination. So Shankara says about that, by keeping the mirror of the mind wiped clean daily with spiritual practices and beneficial austerities, one's inner vision will always offer forth a clear and immaculate view of Brahman. We've looked at Holy Mother, we've looked at Tibetan Buddhism, we looked at Advaita Vedanta. Let's look at yoga. What does the father of yoga say, Patanjali? A yogi always restrains the pain-bearing and wayward vibrations of the mind. Otherwise, factors such as false thinking, deluded perceptions, dull sleep, and sentimental memory will swiftly rise up and cloud it. These are all called vrittis, thought waves in the mind. By combining spiritual practices with mature detachment, steadiness leading to proper exertion ensues. Always remember that the honed discernment that proceeds from the sentient self, that has detached from all modes of nature and is free of desires, is the real discernment. So, discerning between what's good and bad, you did that hopefully when you were young by good parents. But now you've gotten a guru or a householder, Shiva Shakti, for your guru, and now you're having to say, well, what's the moral code for the next level of consciousness that I need to ride to? I also have to have a certain discernment between good and what was not, what's essential. That's the real discernment, Father of Yoga says. That comes to souls with practice. The image, of course, is beautiful. There's this, the mesmerized human being is what this says. It's just looking out into this whole cosmos. He also could be looking in meditation, and you see a very all blissful presence at the center of it. Now, those are 4 versions of people who have crystal clarity. So it's not all that difficult or convoluted when you hear them talk about it. It seems like a very simple thing. So what's really convoluted is this flummoxing Maya. So here's some examples of layers of cosmic subterfuge or Maya. There are 4 of them, basically, when you look at it. The external layer, and this is what keeps people from seeing their formless essence or their Atman, is physical space or matter. I've already said that, right? The 5 elements, 5 senses, the body, objects of nature, brain, its fear, and pleasure-based thoughts. Those basically are that individual Maya or external layer of cosmic subterfuge. Those things cause people to forget the truth and the reality. At the next level in, because you encounter a subterfuge going on at every level, and you transcend them one by one till you get to this nameless, formless reality, the next level is vital, or you'd probably want to say, if you knew the Sanskrit, prana. It's a pranic layer. We could say in English it's etheric space. And its movement, its sensations, and the disappearance of empty phenomena, temptation towards occult powers, preoccupation with personal agency, and fascination with celestial beings forms a vital level. You can see this begins to introduce us to what? The collective mind. That's inside. You see how many beings are there. You mentioned here some of them, celestial beings and so forth. People having visions of those in their meditations and in their dreams. And then they wake up and they say, that wasn't real. But they don't know that they've actually been in another level of existence and seen these forms there that are existing. They don't not exist. So that's that vital layer. And so you can see how that can form a thick layer of covering power, that people who are into that stop there and get engrossed with the 8 occult powers. They're called the Asta Bala Siddhas. They get involved with magic making, with that word again, projection, right? Sensational projection to impress people. We already said that that was pretty evident in the politicians and the scientists and the intellectuals at university and so forth. That's all for paycheck, it's all for getting fame, it's all for discovering something that they think is new, when there's nothing new that actually exists under the sun. That's an interesting thing to bring up. And so all of that is kind of at this pranic layer of subterfuge. At the next layer is right into the actual mind's layer, cognitive mind. Sporadic mentation, undisciplined power of projection, ignorance of Maya's veiling power, absence of discernment, tendency towards excitement, attraction towards imagination are taking over that. And some of those are coming out of the vital layer into the cognitive layer, and you're not discerning between the two, so they get mixed. So now you've got an imaginative scientist, say, who's all amazed by these new appearances in space, you see. But none of that's real. Only Brahman's real. And so they're never going to find the essence by phenomena, by appearances. They're never going to find the essence and satisfy themselves without higher knowledge. They're going to keep having lower knowledge and discovering more and more things that change, and it takes them on this loop. This loop has actually been called a wheel of birth and death, because you don't find satisfaction when you're looking at physical objects that are always changing. Isn't that what a black hole is? So lose your fascination with it and find its origin. And you'll find that its origin is not at the external level. it's more closely associated with the vital level. And then you go beyond the vital level and you find that it's the cognitive level. It's my own intelligence that's involved in this projecting power. I have to rein it in. So what did it say here? Undisciplined power of projection, right? So, and imagination gets into it. So that's happening in a more fantasy-like way in the person who's an occultist. But it's happening in a more practical way in the person who's a scientist and studying lower knowledge. Both of those need to be transcended, because you're getting towards this cosmic layer, which is what I'm talking about. It says here, dependence upon higher deities, persistence of the individual will, avoidance of self-surrender, attachment to higher wisdom, failure to unite with consciousness, unwillingness to see everything as equal. Those are things that are part of this cosmic subterfuge we're talking about. That man who's standing there mesmerized by everything that is out, this phenomenal nature. There's a quote there from Holy Mother. She says, "O bound soul, surrender to the mother of this universe. Then alone will she shower compassion on you and open your pathway to freedom." So she's suggesting that beyond all of the subterfuge, there's this path that can open to freedom. That's a major nadi. And the spine is designed like that. The human spine is designed to tell us that there's a major passageway in which energy flows inwards and upwards, and there's two other passageways, male and feminine, that go around it, like sun and moon. And that's the whole Kundalini system, the way they like to explain things. The Sushumna, the Ida, and the Pingala. This is a whole different way of thinking with a spiritual scientist in charge. Somebody who's got meditation going on and who's seeing inward a higher vision than happens at the vital level or at the mental level only. What else is we hear in this chart? See, it maybe looks a little bit hard to comprehend, but it's really not. It's got a lot of good examples of both what we mean by 4 levels of cosmic subterfuge that we can't trust fully to bring us a vision of God. That's a very rare thing, even among seers. And then it's got these examples of subterfuge themselves. It's beyond that, it's got these people who have gotten crystal clarity and who then are trying to communicate it through us, like through the revealed scriptures. The last quote here, and we can go on, says, "The plenum of nature and the void of outer space capture the embodied soul's attention, convincing it of the presumed reality of both." That is, whether you look inside or outside at nature or in outer space, they capture your attention. But nature and the universe are only the external manifestations of the limitless mind, which contains subtler and subtler expressions of both nearer to its source. So we're confirming here that there is a source behind this projection of Maya that you penetrate through and arrive at. Satori, Samadhi, Kaivalya, Asampragata, there are many words for it in all the different religions of the world, of this higher source that's nameless, formless, timeless, deathless, and free of all transformations. Unseen primordial energy, unplumbed thought, untapped intelligence, and unimaginable ultra-personal love, ultra-personable love permeate the unbounded expanse of this source that's beyond all levels of cosmic subterfuge even. Infusing it with awe-inspiring beauty, a peace that passes all understanding, and an intense bliss that beggars any and all description. Basically, I drew from 3 different sources there. Awe-inspiring beauty, that's the artistic view. They see something very beautiful in the basically, they're all inspired by this view. And that's one level of that. The next level of that is the peace that passes all understanding. That comes from seers like Christ, and how they would describe that beatific vision, if you want, that they saw in their deepest meditations. And finally, from India, the intense bliss that beggars all description. They call that Ananda. So this is what's lying at that source. And beings unite with it, or they try and identify with it and disidentify with the world, right, of changing things, because that's that discrimination that you want to finally capture for yourself and place as witness consciousness on everything that changes and withdraw back from it. See? Then you're saying, it feels good to get beyond the Maya and get back to my true nature, which is called the Atman, or Brahman. I didn't intend to go through that whole chart, but I see that it's not really doesn't take that much time to explain, and it offers forth perfectly the subject of cosmic subterfuge as compared to what? The clarity of beings that have gone beyond it. So it can be transcended. Just like poison is in a snake, like Maya is in Brahman, but if you get bitten by a snake, you don't have to die. Get an antidote, or wait it out, suffer a little and wake up from it. Some people actually live through snake bite. So in that way, you can say that this is an important symbology for this subject. Now let's look at insights and impediments in spiritual life. The subtitle brings up for us what I was just talking about, nadis, the Sushumna nadi, the Ida nadi, the Pingala nadi, and thousands of other nadis. Hundreds and thousands sometimes they say in the scriptures of India. Nadis means all of these inner pathways, like say if you want something that's more hands-on, when I left waking state last night, I went into a channel. My mind's thought went into a channel that took me to dream state. That's a nadi. So you can't say it doesn't exist, because I went from one place to another. I used a path, I used a road. Energy uses nerve endings. Blood uses blood vessels. Rivers use canyons. So just take it a little deeper in to understand it. Your mind has channels too that go inward, and you can open those up here in Hawaii, up in the hills there, if you don't keep your machete sharp and cut through that bamboo that grows so fast every day, and you'll not be able to get to the top of the mountain again. Just like that, if you don't keep these, use the machete of spiritual practice to get through this dense bamboo growth of all the different problems that are in the cosmic subterfuge levels we just looked at, then we'll never get to the mountain top of realization or Brahman. So in that way, we're going to keep it all clear. So that's why we need these insights. But India also wants to tell you there are insights and there are also impediments that come up. I was just chanting that. May Brahman free us from all impediments and reveal to us the essence of the teachings. That's basically right here. Insights and impediments in spiritual life. So these nadis are of higher intelligence. We make a distinction in Vedanta between the word intelligence and intellect. Intellect's a container, and it can deem itself to be full, and it can deem that intelligence to be, that intellect, what it holds to be dull or old and unsatisfying, and therefore the intellect will become something that is not in accord with the highest goal. Intelligence, on the other hand, is a living, burning flow through these nadis, and that's what the higher beings with higher thought, have gotten a hold of. They've opened these inner nadis into the pure mind. So if there's a individual mind, there's a collective mind, and there's a cosmic mind, then there's a pure mind. They've opened that nadi from the cosmic mind, gone beyond the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and opened a channel through meditation to non-dual reality. And so they'll go into samadhi, like we saw Sri Ramakrishna or Swami Vivekananda doing. And the world just goes away, and then they have to bring their mind back down to these other levels. Different levels of samadhi are in them. So they're going along nadis of intelligence when they do that. That's the fire of yoga Vivekananda talked about, and how it opens up channels. And on the other hand, if you don't keep that water of spirituality flowing along it, you'll begin to see that grantis of ignorance. What's a granti? It's like a knot, It's like a samskara of negativity. It's like a complex that has been, the only way to describe it, Sri Ramakrishna says, you cut yourself, wait for it to heal, then there's a scar there, you cut again right on the scar, wait for that to heal, there's a double level of scar, then you cut yourself again after it healed, you've got 3 levels of scar, it's continuing to scar. That's how Sri Ramakrishna described a granti or a samskara. You just keep cutting with something negative, a negative thought, a negative act, and so forth, a negative philosophy. And you just keep cutting there, and pretty soon it's got a layer of scar that will never heal fully. It'll always be present. In the mind now, take that body analogy and put it in the mind, how people are thinking again and again with negative thoughts and cutting themselves with pain and suffering and ignorance and pleasure too, by the way, and all of these things are forming a dense problem in the mind. Not in the brain. The brain will react to that, but this is in the mind. It's not at the individual level of nature, it's at the subtle nature, the subtle level of collective mind. This cutting is going on, and its effect is called karma. And karma creates samskaras, knots, grantis. Well, enough said about that. Then let's look at the highest level of this insight up here in the corner. I'll read it first. Vibrant, living intelligence flows freely along opened channels of pure conscious awareness, directly from the Divine Mother of Wisdom into the hearts and minds of her precious spiritual sons and daughters. So that's that flaming intelligence. It'll burn through anything, Vivekananda said. It'll burn through subtle things really quickly, gross things it'll take a little longer, but it always burns through. Like we say, a wind can't get around a wall, can't get under it, can't go over it, it'll blow through a chink in it. So that's like this burning intelligence, that if you take it as your champion and see it in the form of your ishtam and your gurus, your great gurus, your acharyas, then it'll burn through this denseness of ignorance, and it'll get rid of these creases. Those are to give us an idea of the mind's levels. Over here, there's a box you can see there. These are the 7 worlds. We're here right now, as it were. Purloka. We're embodied beings on the Purloka in physical space. And what do we think of when we say that in this class? Individual mind, right? We're in nature. So nature seems real, and we're happy here in nature, or not, as the case may be. And some of us are even thinking, maybe, I'm not going to be here that long in the body. I should probably prepare myself with spiritual practice, meditation, so that when I drop the body of physical and leave this physical world, I will have access to these kingdoms of heaven within me. That's what this is. Bur, Buvar, Swar. You could all chant with me the Gayatri mantra right now, and we'd have it. Bur Bhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyan Bhargo Devasya Dhimo Hidi Yo Yona Tacho Chat Pracho Dayat, they say down South India. Pracho Dayat. So basically that's these 7 worlds. Bur Bhuva and Swaha, lokas. Lokas means world, are those 3 lower levels. Basically, probably everything from humans, animals, insects, plants, microorganisms are at the Burloka. When you go deeper to the Bhuvarloka, those are disembodied beings. You go deeper than that, disembodied beings of a unenlightened kind, who are thinking that they're forms, subtle forms. And if you go deeper than that, then you're getting to the realm of your ancestors and the lower gods. That's Bhuvarloka. Swarloka, I'm sorry. But there's a higher heaven that exists beyond Swarloka. This is why it's very nice to think in terms of not just the Triputi of Western conventional religion, earth, heaven, and hell. Think of the Triputi of the Hindu religion that talks about Bhur Bhuva Swaha, because that covers everything up to the gods. And then beyond that, the lower gods are these higher heavens. And that's not provided for when you just say heaven, earth, and hell. It's not provided for even when you say paradise. This provides for a much deeper way of thinking of all of the kingdoms of heaven within you, because you're starting here then next with the Maharloka, and then going to the Janaloka, Taparloka, and Swarloka. Taparloka, for instance, is where great austere beings go when they leave the body. And they love that austerity of being without form. So they're preparing themselves to do what? To transcend all 7 of these, because all 7 are in the mind. Lower mind, middle mind, higher mind. Or how about then individual mind, collective mind, cosmic mind, right? Those are all with form, so they have to be in Maya. So you thought, well, maybe if I get to the 7th or 6th or 7th world, I'm going to be free. No, you're still going to be invested with causal form. Just like Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva are. Yeah, it's very beautiful there, higher heavens and so forth and all that. But if you're talking about India's ultimate goal, which is moksha, or liberation, you're talking about going beyond the mind entirely, because, just put simply, Brahman does not have a mind. It does not think. It does not have to. The closest thing that we can have, according to Vivekananda, to God's mind would be intelligence. That's the second compound of consciousness, Vivekananda said. Or actually said the first compound of consciousness. So you have consciousness as Brahman with no mind. And then off of it, like a sun, shines this intelligence of the highest kind. And people, and it's like you'd look up and see the sunrise. Whoa, I'm going to be warm soon, you see. It's like these souls will look good and see, I see the light of Brahman. I'm going to be illumined soon, you see. And so they look for that light. And that light is beyond form. There's all the light here, lights on the ceiling, lights on so the camera can see me better, lights on out there with the sunshine in the afternoon here in Hawaii, are all lights with lesser glares. Na tatra suryabhati na chandra tarakam nema vidyut dobanti kuto yamagnihi, right? Na tatra surya, oh, it's not the sun. Na chandra tarakam, oh, it's not the moon. Na vidyut dobanti, vidyut's lightning, oh, it's not the fire of lightning. Kuto yamagnihi, it's not fire, Agni. Those lights are not Brahman. See, it's very beautiful. Na means no. It's none of those things. It's not the light of the sun, it's not the light of the moon, it's not the light of lightning, it's not the light of fire. That is the light of Brahman. Those are lesser lights, and they all get their light from Brahman. And of course there's some steps in between, as we're seeing. There's some mediums, or mediaries, in between sun and the sun god. Or let's say between the sun and Brahman, there is the sun god as an intermediary. He's shining real beautifully at Taparloka and at higher lokas. So a quick view at India's not only 3 kinds of minds here, but spread over 7 types of worlds, and very illuminating teaching. Now, what we really want to get to in this first class, because we have next week to go through more, and a couple other charts I brought, so that we should be perfectly aware of everything that has to do with cosmic subterfuge and its solutions by the end of next Sunday's class. We'll all be just floating in that wisdom. If you wanted to pose them, and I did, across the board from each other, I did it with this chart first, later on I thought about it and continued with this one. Basically it was like, we've got crystal clarity and we've got cosmic subterfuge. Or for most people, let's put it in reverse order. Oh, this cosmic subterfuge is getting me down. Pain and pleasure and life and death and bondage and liberation and virtue and vice and wisdom and ignorance. All these things are getting me down. I really want to get free of them, thinking about them all the time. getting bounced back and forth like a ping pong ball between two expert players. You see these expert ping pong players, you can't believe that they can return some of those slams that are coming back at them and how accurate they are. They've got that thing right down to a science. Yeah, I was a ping pong champion of my high school when I was in Portland early on, but these guys are so far beyond anything that we did in high school. So it's like that. You want the mind to quit being batted back and forth like that between the two pairs of opposites. Pleasure one day and pain the next, and you never learn the meaning of that and get over it. Virtue one day, vice the next. War one year, peace the next. You never get over that. You get batted back and forth like that, and the mind gets tired of it, and it wants crystal clarity. That's vijnanam. Beyond agyanam, ignorance, and jnanam, knowledge, is vijnanam, wisdom. And so in that way, when I pose that like that, I put it across the board from each other. So the most profound insights you could have in crystal clarity, I'll give you each one of them and their opposite, what's railing against them. In Vedanta and Advaita particularly, are these profound insights. First, you see, consciousness itself is the unchanging reality. So, people could walk around saying, oh, that must be ultimate reality, or that's God, or that's Brahman, and so forth. Well, what do you mean by that? I mean Chaitanya. I mean consciousness. That's absolute reality. But is consciousness free of all projections, right? It's free of all conditionings. It's free of all sublations. It's free of all changes. I can't imagine or incept or conceive of a consciousness like that, because I've only seen consciousness in bodies plagued by those things. Plagued by what things? By the Dvandva Mohena. People are always going, even wise people are going back and forth between that. Have a good day. Okay, I'll have a good day, but I know tomorrow's most likely going to be a bad day. So I'll take that with a grain of salt, as they say. So basically that's what's at the foot of your consciousness with changes. It's like an ocean without waves, without boundaries, including depths. It doesn't have a bottom. And so now I've got it pretty clear that that's what Brahman is. It's pure conscious awareness. And it's also, most importantly, see it over there in white, it's a parinama. It's changeless. So that's one of the two great pillars of Advaita Vedanta, a parinama. It's not parinama, everything else changes, like with those three kinds of mind, including cosmic mind. It's aparinama, it's free of even those changes. Changes for the highest bliss, for instance, or highest peace. It's free of those. And what's in the way of realizing it? Standing impediments, it's called. Impositions of nature, insinuations of Maya. So isn't that just what I talked about with the first kind of mind, individual mind, insinuations of nature, and the second kind of mind, Maya, cosmic Maya. So that's what's standing in the way of us realizing that Brahman is just pure conscious awareness. The only other place to go with that is Tattvamasi. That thou art. That's what you are. What? Pure conscious awareness. And so you can say, well, I'm just a body. No, that's the point. You're not the body. So people will always default back to these other layers of Maya. They'll default back to the mind's imperfections. They'll default back to the body's decay and death. But you're none of those. You're that Brahman. Rise to that Brahman and think of yourself as Brahman, through Brahman, by Brahman. You realize the self by the self, in and through the self, as the self, the Upanishads say. So that's like taking away all these other things that you could stand on, all these arguments to say, well, I'm not the self because. No, I'm not the self because. No, where's that great person that's going to stand up and say, I'm the self in all? All worlds do I thereby renounce. All heavens, all earths, all hells, all hopes and fears. Isn't that what Swamiji says? The next profound insight, these are grouped in fives. The next profound insight is consciousness that we just defined as formless and transcendent is neither mind nor body, nor thought, energy, or matter. It's not chitta, it's not prana, and it's not bhuta kasha or bhur kasha. It's nothing physical, it's nothing energetical, it's nothing mental. That's consciousness we're talking about. What's against our understanding? The ego. And its penchant for ownership, agency, and sense of separation. Those are the three great tripping stones for it, right? Is that we think that we own everything and it all belongs to us. And we think also that we're a separate owner, that we can't co-own anything. That's the sense of agency in us. And then, I mean, just look at like governments and politicians. They want to own everything. Great dictators, explorers and kings and so forth, royalty, they all want to own everything. They're not satisfied just with their one little kingdom. They want to have it all. So that's that strong sense of agency in the ego in them. And of course that's operating by what? I'm separate from the king next door. I'm separate from that country over there. I want to keep them separate. I'll build walls to keep them out. So, and that kind of ego machinations going on will keep one from realizing that they're not thought, they're not energy, and they're not matter. That's called videha. You're bodiless, really. Consciousness is bodiless. Next, consciousness is essentially formless, but can assume forms. This is better than non-duality. It's better than traditional non-duality. It always goes for the formless. Always goes for the throat and then the head. But you want to go for the throat and the head and keep the shoulders with you. You see, basically you want to know that consciousness is formless, but obviously it can assume forms. What you don't want to do is identify with the forms as being the only reality. If you can do that, it's called lila or sport. You can play in the body, in nature. You're not seeing nature as the ultimate reality, right? Which is back to the problem with the individual mind, born in nature. Your parents have to teach you this as they grow up. They had to have gotten it from their parents, and their parents had to have gotten it from their acharya, from their teachers, from their dharma teachers. And that had to come down to you through generations as far as the Burloka is concerned. People who didn't learn that end up in these two lokas, and they come back to this loka. That's called rebirth. So if you didn't learn these lessons that are being taught right here in these 5 tiers of Advaita Vedanta, then you're bound to come back and reincarnate again with all these impediments still in you. What's the impediment to knowing that consciousness is formless? It's the appearance of form that convinces us, because it seems to distort consciousness. We call that avarana and vikshepa in Vedanta. Avarana means to cover something. Vikshepa means to distort it. So here's the covering power. You see, simple as that. And here's the distorting power. You see, now you see me, now you don't, or you don't see me the way I really am, because something's distorting me. So that's just an explanation as I can give, but that's why form covers formlessness, and we believe in the appearance instead of the essence. And so by covering and by distorting, that happens. I mean, we'd rather return to our own home. Since I've uncovered this, I can sing that to you. chalo nija iketane. O mind, return to your own abode, your eternal home. You are a foreigner in this foreign land. Why do you roam about aimlessly with no real purpose? The five senses, the five elements, all these are different from you. None of them belong to you. You have become senseless in your attachment to nature and to others, and forgotten your own true nature. Therefore, return to your own home, your eternal abode. That's what that means. Mono chalo nida iketane. So being said here, more on the side of the impediments, right? You've become senseless in your attachment to nature, five senses, the objects of pleasure, and you've left your home, right? When you come into form, you left your home. Then what's your home? What's your home? Formlessness. So when form appeared, that's the Maya happening. Who thought that one up? You see, that all of a sudden you see me and then you can't. See, that's just this world bewitching Maya, and confusing the mind it's bewitching people at the individual level of mind, and it's confusing them at the collective level of mind. So their thinking's not right, so their acts aren't right. So both of these have to be clarified, why we're trying to go toward understanding cosmic Maya, how it first originated out of the mind of God. And we're fortunate because we have knowledge of Mahamaya. Sri Ramakrishna brought to us, the Divine Mother of the Universe, Shakti. We can make sense of everything through her. Some people don't have that advantage. In fact, most people don't, because the mother's not a popular concept. She's not a popular ideal, and she's quite hidden in everything, right? She's so hidden that, I can do this and not even remember I scratched my head. I can blink and not even remember how many times I blinked today. I can lift my arm and talk to you and not even remember that I did that. So that's that Shakti power that's in everything. So you may not be thought, you may not be energy, you may not be matter, but she's in all three of those. As the witness consciousness, she's the ultimate non-participatory participant. See, we want to take her on as our ideal. That's how to detach from things and still get things done. Let's go on to the third one, or is it the fourth? Fourth one, is it? Yes. The third one actually was called arupa. You see, that's formlessness. Arupa, rupa, rupa, rupa. So we could say Brahman is both is formless, but consciousness can come to you both with form and beyond form. It's got that ability to do that. Like the snake has the ability to stay still, all of a sudden it can wriggle across the floor, Sri Ramakrishna said. So it's the same snake, but it's got two different powers, evidently. You should also have them. Still would mean meditation. Wriggle across the floor would be doing selfless actions for others, right? That's action and inaction. You should have both of those. And they're supposed to be even, equal. All right, let's look at akshara, consciousness. That is, we've been looking at consciousness. Consciousness is now eternal, i.e. birthless and deathless. And why can't we understand that? The standing impediment to it is that we're mistaking nature as a separate reality, and the soul tries to unite with it, and therefore imagines birth and death. The birthless, deathless soul identifies with nature, and then it thinks it's getting born, and then it thinks it's dying. It's a very beautiful thought to meditate on, great contemplation to have. Shankara and Gaudapada would be very good to go to try and understand that, philosophically speaking anyway. But it's actually pretty obvious. If things are being covered so you can't see them or they're being distorted, then that's also here in this teaching, basically about things are appearing to be born and they're appearing to die, but one soul stands behind both of those changes. I think if people took for granted that they've had many births, then they could prove to themselves that they're birthless because they're still here. I've always thought that'd be kind of funny is that, they don't believe in birth or rebirth, but there they are. So where'd you come from? You just came out of nothing? You got like out of magic? Do you believe in that magical Maya that creates something out of nothing? I think to an atheist, well, you have to, they can't deny that. So we're just saying spiritually, you have a mother, and she's observing that wheel of birth and death, and she'll get you off it when you're done playing. It's like the mother comes and takes the child out of the playground. Father comes and saves the little boy from drowning. However analogy you want to put to that, then basically you have a source, and that source is birthless, deathless, and eternal, and you can come out of it as many times and go back into it, just as you can do so in deep sleep every night. You wake, you dream, and go back into deep sleep. Like deep sleep is the perfect analogy for Brahman. So you're coming out of it and going into it every night. That's your true nature. And it's formless in there in deep sleep. And it's peaceful. And if you knew it, you knew it would be blissful. But, wake up out of deep sleep, not remembering it. So you haven't brought your full cognizance in there. Why is that? Because of this whole problem of three levels of cosmic subterfuge, because of this whole column of impediments. Those are things that Mother Kali, in her negativity destroying form, will get to if you can invoke her at the deepest level of your being with your fullest capacity. People are getting rid of their poverty, their suffering, they're finding good companions, they're having children, they're having good jobs. She's just granting all of this left and right to everyone. But those things don't last. And they will disappoint the soul in the end when death comes, if nothing else, maybe on the way before death even comes. And you can be healthy and get things taken away from you, like your health. But she works on the level of cosmic subterfuge to get rid of the sources of those things. The desire for children, the desire for rebirth in the human body, the desire for money and wealth. The souls we know who are enlightened, they don't have those. They don't have those desires. They could even take on children in a lifetime, but still not have it. It won't come out of the desire for children. It'll just be to guide certain souls that had the good fortune of being born in their families. Yeah. So this is called Ananta, what's infinite. I'm sorry, this is called Akshara, what's eternal. Akshara Brahma is one of the chapters in Bhagavad Gita. Very beautiful to chant that. I do that at every retreat. I usually chant Akshara Brahma Yoga out of the Gita for people in the morning before they meditate. That reminds them what's unchanging. All right, and we may have time to actually finish these columns for this class. The next is Ananta. Not Ananda, don't get them confused. Ananda is bliss, but Ananta means infinite. And so here, consciousness is infinite. You probably have picked up on it by now. We're talking about consciousness as Brahman. Brahman is consciousness. It is our consciousness. We're conscious of it. We're consciously conscious that Brahman's conscious and is consciousness. I don't know how much clearer to put that so that we start thinking of it as consciousness. Whether it's form or formlessness makes no never mind. It's consciousness. It's just eternal consciousness. So consciousness is unchanging. Consciousness is not thought, energy, and matter. Consciousness can assume forms, but is essentially formless. Consciousness cannot be tainted by any of its associations. I skipped that one, didn't I? Let's take that up. Vishuddha, consciousness, cannot be tainted by any of its associations. And that would be a great realization to have. What's standing in our way of having it? Because in tandem with the gunas and the suffering that the pairs of opposites bring us. Isn't that almost the first teaching I gave today? Dvandva mohena. It's those pairs of opposites that are causing the soul to suffer. So, yeah. Mulamaho dukam, Dvaita mulamaho dukam, nanyatasya besajam, that Yashtavaka Samhita says. It says that consciousness is non-dual by nature, but it's that dual primal error of duality that's causing your soul to suffer. And get rid of that, and the eye will return to a single again. He'll have a single eye again and see the truth. That's crystal clarity. So beautiful, the seers of all kinds of different others. So the affairs of opposites are things inside the mind that are causing us to suffer. There's, in the Dvandva Mohena, there's no solution for that. In the gunas, there's a solution. What's the solution in the gunas? Hold on to the highest guna, sattva. That will lead you out in a nadi. The mind will open a nadi to sattva. It'll start remaining balanced. When it remains balanced, what goes away? Rajas and tamas. So you meet these great souls, they don't have rajas and tamas. They're not restless and they're not lazy. So that proves to you right there that they have something over and above all other embodied souls. They're not restless and they're not lazy. That means they're not suffering from rajas and tamas because they've learned to hold a sattvic position. Call it positivity if you want. We met our founder, Lexikson, and found him in that way. His whole life was like that, so positive all the time. So they've got that nadi opened, that channel in the mind open to hold that balance. So although Dvandva Mohena is going to flummox you forever, the gunas can be transcended. That's why you don't have a word like, Dvandva Mohena Tita. You have Triguna Tita, right? There is a transcendence going beyond Atita, going beyond the three gunas. And if you can hold sattva long enough, you can get to what Shankar called pure sattva. That's pure mind. And that's where that bliss is. That's where that peace is that passes all understanding. And they don't come down from that perch. The bird may come down from the sky and land on a branch to rest, never goes to the ground where the cats are, you see. Very careful about that. So that's that sattva shuddha. It's beyond the three gunas. Good, I went back and talked about consciousness, so we didn't leave that one out. Consciousness is also homogeneous, partitionless, and partless. And that's called ananta. Now, what stands against ananta? Brooding upon and enjoying physical matter. The soul gives itself to the illusion of finitude. So when it concentrates itself on physical things, it begins to think, I am physical. It's just the material being living in a material world kind of problem. So if they were to be in a material world, but their minds are thinking on Brahman, that would be totally different. Like Swami Vivekananda used to say, oh, look at Naren over there, the future Vivekananda. His hair is tousled, his eyes are always looking up. He's always like in that sattvic condition we were just talking about. His eyes don't come down to the world. He's like a homa bird egg, right? Remember that story from Sri Ramakrishna? The homa bird flies very high and it drops its egg. It then never comes to earth. That's the great soul. But it gives birth in the sky and its egg falls for a long time. And as soon as it gets close to the earth, it feels the atmosphere of the earth. Danger, danger, danger. And it cracks open its shell and just swoops by the earth and goes up to its mother. A beautiful analogy that Sri Ramakrishna used to describe Swami Vivekananda coming close to earth, helping all of us with his flight through these regions. But where is he going after he came close to us, you see? He didn't identify with earth. He was going back up to the Divine Mother to unite with her again, fly with her in the skies of awareness. So this is what we like to say in terms of the soul getting over brooding on the world, nature, the mind, the intellect, all those things we've mentioned. Get over that and begin to focus on your true nature and just keep it there. It's like a setting in your mind. The gunas will help that. Sattva guna. To just set my mind, that's my penultimate ideal. I'm going to hold it for the next so many weeks, months, years, at least days. How about one day? So it's like it's kind of a meditation that you hold, just like you do in the traditional meditation sitting there. The next and penultimate one is akala. I'm going to finish this column before we end, so it'll take us a few more minutes. Akala means consciousness is not kala, time. It's akala, timeless. And why can't we remember that? It's not hard to discern. Subjected to life and death in worldly and heavenly realms, the soul accepts the illusion of time. So prior to that, it accepted the illusion of birth and death, right? Now it's accepting the illusion of time. Everyone's been raised that way. Only those who had dharmic parents who knew about non-duality cautioned their children about that. No, do not think that way, my love. You should know better because we learned this from the great souls. We're going to pass it on to you. You're birthless and you're deathless and you're timeless. And you might have heard that from parents that had heard it from gurus in India and so forth. But you needed to plumb the depths of that. And that's why you need to reach to where? The cosmic subterfuge of things. You need to go all the way back before the first appearance. Philosophically understand that all of that's a dream. I have that next to show you next time. Here's the dream of absolute reality. Absolute reality doesn't dream, but if it did dream, this is what it looks like. It comes down through the cosmic mind. So don't look at that yet. I'm going to save that for next week. Well, basically, you can see that this problem of believing in time to be real, when it goes away in deep sleep, it goes away when in meditation. I mean, it even goes away when you're working, doesn't it? If you're working on something you really like I was just doing before I came to teach this class, I was engaged in something. I looked up, 15 minutes, I have to be ready. You see, I didn't want to leave my work. I was perfectly happy doing that I was doing. So that was a timeless period I was in. So it happens to you, not just in deep sleep, but it happens to you in everyday action too, when you're really focused and concentrated. You're in that kind of timeless samadhi. So try and just stretch that out. Be in it all the time. The last one here, and then we'll have to end, is Chaitanya, consciousness, is inherently aware, intelligent, and sentient amongst insentient things, we say, right? It's the essence of everything, sentiency in everything, the awareness in and non-aware things. It's the intelligence in unintelligent things. So there's where it lies. And what's against that for us? Experiencing the mind's unconscious states and its ignorance. The soul forgets its spiritual harmony and associates with gross animalistic acts and moods. So moods filled with the six passions, like anger, lust, selfishness, greed, pride, delusion. These are called the six passions, or shame, fear, and so forth. The eight fetters are called. So basically, the mind experiences these, right? And when they come to them, they take them to be real and they get affected by them. They leave an impression in the mind. The next day, you're thinking, you're on the verge of getting angry again, or you're on the verge of being more again. That's what's being said here. You're experiencing the mind's unconscious states. That doesn't mean when you're knocked on the head or when you're in deep sleep. It means that your consciousness left you. It left you high and dry. Keep your consciousness with you, hopefully even into deep sleep, but at least through your daily waking state. Keep it high, keep it aware, or the word they've been using nowadays has been mindful. I won't finish this chart today because we can segue with it next week. It's a favorite thing to do between the two class series is to, do you remember this next Sunday? We'll say, then we'll finish it with what's here in these two quotes. One of them very beautiful by the great luminary Prahlada. So in that way, then, we will end this first Sunday class. I hope you've seen the possibility and the desirability of seeing through cosmic subterfuge, not only at the individual mind's level, at the collective mind's level, but also broaching it and penetrating it at the cosmic level, which is very deep within the great mind. Good. And here we will end with a chant. Matramidam Dvaita Dvaitam Paramattaha Om Shanti 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 Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Chaitanetya Abhidhyate Om Shanti 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 Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Jnanam Ritena Sansita Namastasyai 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 Namo Namaha Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Hari Om O Divine Mother of the Universe, as consciousness you exist in and throughout all beings. Salutations unto thee. O Divine Mother of this universe, as higher intelligence you exist in the hearts and minds of all living beings. O Divine Mother of the universe, as the eternal peace you exist in the hearts and minds of all beings. Om